Okay. All right. So I just wanted to start off by framing really where Landmark's going and kind of our vision for the future. We currently just completed our strategic plan for the next 5 years with the administrative team as well as the board. And really what we're really fostering is the power of learning differently to really empower our students to think both independently, solve creatively, and be prepared for the ever-changing interconnected world. As we all know, technology is rapidly changing in this world, and the jobs and companies are looking for different skill sets. So we want to make sure that we are truly preparing our students for what that future looks like. So our portrait of a graduate focuses on 4 key pillars. The first being self-awareness and self-advocacy. The second is literacy and communication, followed by problem solving and perseverance, and empathy and perspective. So all of these themes are going to be interconnected with everything that's part of our program, both inside and outside of the classroom. Okay, now it's not clicking. Oh, there we go. Okay. In addition, we worked on our landmark values, and this is both at our elementary, middle school, as well as our high school. And 3 key areas are exploration, character, and empowerment. And again, we're trying to teach our students really how to be creative and think outside the box, really being aware of who they are as learners, how to ask for help, how to self-advocate, and really just having a sense of who they are, both inside and outside of the classroom. Character is just such a big piece of our community. We really want to be making sure we're showing respect. Our students have integrity, kindness, and empathy towards one another. We also want to empower our students, as they go through this high school journey, really to have room for growth, gain their confidence, and ultimately have that independence and learn how to apply the skills and all of the things that we are teaching them here at Landmark. Just want to briefly talk about the founding of Landmark and where we were back in 1971 with Charles Drake founding Landmark School. And really what was a central theme for him and in his education is that the traditional approach really didn't work for him. And so he really worked with other teachers and educators to really disrupt the status quo and kind of create an innovative approach where Landmark was dynamic, adaptable, and customized. And really, this is what we're focusing on in our next iteration of our strategic plan. How do we continue to be dynamic, adaptable, and customize our programs around what our students need? So back in 1971, Landmark started with 40 students. And right now, this year, we have a total of 475 students. And so that includes at our elementary middle school, we have 175 students on that campus. And at the high school, we have about 300 students this year. We have about 115 boarders represented by 18 states as well as 6 countries. So we do have students coming from all over. And what's nice is that we really are truly, even though we have 2 different campuses, we're doing a lot of work to really build one Landmark community. And the profile of our students, both for the academic program as well as our summer programs, both at the elementary, middle school, and high school, are all the same. And some key characteristics of our students are really bright and capable. They are well-adjusted as well as resilient, and they do a great job. They're very curious and eager to learn. They're great collaborators, and they really are so creative and outside of the box thinkers. And so we have such wonderful students and strengths that we are working with day to day with our students. So our students have been diagnosed with a language-based learning disability, and this can include anything from dyslexia, a disorder of written language, an expressive language disorder, executive function deficits, as well as ADHD and a weak working memory and/or processing speed. And really, it's just really that's what our students are primarily based with. So that's really when we're looking at testing, these are the areas that we're focused on to make sure that students are a good fit for our programs. We do ask as part of the application process that you have a complete neuropsych evaluation to submit that's within 3 years old, as well as if you have any additional testing such as a speech and language evaluation as well. And so at the end, I can get a little bit more into the application process as well. I did want to take a moment to really outline what Landmark may not be suitable for. I think having come to Landmark and just being at a school now that is very specific of really being true to its mission and really what can it support and what it can't, I think we want to be cognizant to make sure that all of our students have the ability to be successful in our environment. So we do have a pretty thorough application and admissions process. We cannot work with students with intellectual disabilities, if they have emotional and/or behavioral disorders, if they have a diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder, as well as nonverbal learning disability, or a complex communication disorder, including primary, receptive, and/or social pragmatic deficits. As I mentioned, we are looking for that complete neuropsych, and really what we're looking for on the WISC, our students tend to have areas of strength within the realms of verbal comprehension, fluid reasoning, and visual spatial integration. And so our students, typically have average to above average superior scores within these realms. Where they tend to have areas of difficulty is with working memory and processing speed. So that's kind of the strengths and deficits of our students. I'm just going to play a quick video before we continue on.
Feel proud to be a Landmark student and honored to have the opportunity to be here.
Landmark is a very different school. I wasn't used to how much teachers actually cared about me.
When I came to Landmark, it felt like a fit. It felt like this is the place for me.
This isn't a scary school. The people are nice, the teachers are amazing. I learn new skills every single day in the classroom. Coming to Landmark, I was scared that no one would know my situation, but teachers here care and they want it.
I'm in tears sometimes thinking what my life was like in high school. It used to stress me out just thinking, I'm doing so much, it's not working.
We've all struggled in past schools. So you feel connected to all the kids, and now you're at Landmark, which is very helpful.
I love the community here. Teachers really understand you. They help you grow.
I know that I've come a long way as a student, and that's an amazing feeling. You walk down the hill in the morning to the class, and every teacher knows your name. It's good morning. Everyone smiles.
The whole community is just so welcoming and understanding. Even though I'm a day student, I spend most of my time here. I do my homework in my class with my friends. It's just all of us are just really close. The friends I made in the dorm are from all over the world.
Growing up is probably my favorite part about Landmark. When you're living with people like that, you're there with them all the time. They use build special bonds.
Landmark has really helped me bring up my reading level and my comprehension. I've always struggled with speaking up for myself and advocacy, but at Landmark, they really strive for people to ask for help. My writing has improved tremendously. It makes me feel a lot more confident about myself and my work.
It's smart individuals not afraid to mess up.
For a tutorial, it's a one-on-one connection you have with a teacher. You learn how to read more fluently, and the teachers are always really understanding and they'll be patient.
You not only make friends with students and other peers who are like you, but also teachers who understand you and see what you're worth.
I have 2 hours of homework a night. Nothing I can't manage. Teachers still push me really hard.
The advisor is like a safety net. If you fall, they'll help you get back on your feet. The guidance department have been great. I even just stopped in there and talked to them about my plans for my future and going off to college being stronger than I was when I started.
With 4 different after-school activities and extracurriculars, it's just so fun.
I don't have a ton of after-school activities. Is what working really hard.
The theater here is amazing. I run cross country, I play basketball, and I do track and field. I'm definitely really proud of myself. I didn't think I was even gonna make it through high school.
Landmark is a part of me, and I am definitely proud to be a part of Landmark.
I can't thank my parents enough for sending me here. It's one of the hardest choices you guys have had to make for me, and I appreciate it more than anything.
You don't want that again? Awesome. Okay. I want to talk a little bit more about what's unique about Landmark. Within our classrooms, we are language-based. We have direct and explicit instruction. It's skills-based, and what's most important is that it's consistent across the curriculum. It really is designed for our students and their diagnostic goals, and it's just really, as you heard from the students, such a different environment that allows them to really be themselves, to feel comfortable in the classroom and not feel like they're not good enough to be there or they're not smart enough to be there. All of the students have the same goals in mind. They're there for the same reasons, and it just really makes that learning environment much more approachable. We do offer our daily one-to-one language arts tutorial. And it's part of their student schedule, and it meets every day as one of their classes, which is really nice. And each tutorial is different. There's not one the same. It's really based off the students' their diagnostic goals. Again, it's based off their profile, and we're really working to remediate language and literacy skills. It's really, like I said, individualized. And it's just really great that it's not it's different from public school, whereas they're not getting pulled out of the classroom. And I think from when I'm meeting with students and, interviewing them, I think that's one of the biggest things that I hear, that they feel like they're missing out on other things because they're being pulled out of the classroom. They feel different. So here, everybody has that one-on-one tutorial. And it's really, again, having that consistent methodology across the curriculum. There's that repetition, and really spiraling back to those key concepts. All right, so the Landmark Classroom, because we are part of the Massachusetts curriculum framework, we can't have more than 8 students in a classroom. And so typically an average class size are 6 to 8 students. Students are also placed by ability level. They are taught by teachers who have a degree in special education, a master's in special education, or they're working towards that. We support faculty in obtaining that master's degree through the BU WELOC program. And so they are supervised as they're learning, and they have a lot of support as well. So, so either our teachers have master's degrees or working towards that. So as I mentioned, we really are developing a program for each individual student. So every student will have a language arts class, a math class, science, a social science, as well as an elective. And I'll get into the electives a little bit later in this presentation. But it's also customized with, again, these one-on-one tutorials in language arts. We have an expressive language oral expression option. We have study skills and executive function, reading, literature. So again, it's really, we're working with your students to really, develop exactly what their schedules will look like. And we do assessments and testing throughout their time at Landmark to really gauge their progress. And as we are moving on to each grade and in their advancing, we are keeping all of those things in mind as we're developing their curriculum. Okay. And throughout all of our content area classes and even our residential life program, we're really focused on those executive function skill building, really that time management. How do I organize my materials? How do I take notes in class and make sense of those when I have to go home and do homework or I'm in study hall? And so again, this is a big piece of what's really embedded throughout our entire program. Some examples of these, again, 2-column notes, the 5-step writing process, previewing vocabulary, paraphrasing and summarizing, and test-taking strategies. So these are all things that are going to be mightily important for students to really master before they go on to college, university, or just life after Landmark. So these are really important pillars of what we're teaching our students. I'm sure students have a lot of questions or they're wondering about homework. And I would say, you know, again, our approach to teaching and learning, I would say our homework is really to make sure that students are really practicing and reviewing the content and the skills that they're learning. We want students to be able to apply those skills and really be thinking independently on their own. So students complete homework assignments on their own. However, during our residential life programming, we do have a study hall during the evenings for 2 hours each night. And those study halls are monitored by Landmark faculty. We'll get into a little bit more about our residential program in just a moment. But as you heard a student speaking in that video I just played, they feel like the homework is useful. They feel like it's manageable. It's not just giving homework for the sake of homework and just busy work. It's really truly, again, practicing the skills that they've learned and making sure that they can apply those skills independently. Another thing that's different about Landmark is that each student has an academic advisor. And this person is really the main contact for parents and students. And so if a parent has a question about a class or a schedule change or whatever it might be, instead of trying to communicate with all of a student's teachers, this academic advisor is just the main point of contact. So it makes it much easier to have that consistent outreach and making sure that we are responding to parents in a timely fashion. They oversee the students' academic schedules. They work closely with those tutorial teachers so they can, again, see as they're developing and making progress and make adjustments to that. So that way we continue to challenge the students while making sure that we're really remediating those language and literacy skills. For some of our students, because we do follow the Massachusetts framework, our students might have funding to attend Landmark. So some towns are paying the tuition for students to go to Landmark. And so the academic advisor is really working on those IEPs for the funded students and making sure that those are getting updated as well as communicated back to those public schools. All right, so what comes next? So we have a whole guidance and transition department, and they, start working with students in grade 9. Again, we don't want to stress students out by really drilling down the college admissions process then, but we want them to be aware that that's a goal for many of our students, and we want everybody to go through that process. They'll have weekly one-on-one meetings with the guidance counselor throughout their junior year. There is a senior capstone that students are responsible for doing. And it's really a personalized approach to that application process. I would say, there are faculty and the guidance and transition team truly know your children and really what skills they have gained during their time at Landmark, and really what are they truly ready for after Landmark. And it's really nice because we have a number of different college representatives coming to visit Landmark throughout the fall. Students can make appointments to meet them in the guidance office. So it's really, truly a really integrated part of our process. 100% of our students do get accepted to college and 94% attendance. Some students may take a gap year. Some students may go into a trade and maybe college isn't for them, but we're supporting students wherever they are in that journey. One really amazing thing. So Endicott College is right next door to Landmark's high school campus, and we have developed a partnership with them this year where we have a dual enrollment program. So this is for students who are recommended for this program. It's typically for seniors, but we have an Endicott professor coming to campus during the week where they're having a college-based class and they're earning college credits. On those days that they don't meet, I think they meet 2 or 3 times a week. On those off days, they're actually working with someone from our guidance and transition department. So again, these students are able to take a college class and have the support of a Landmark teacher to truly make sure that they're getting the support they need and they're getting that exposure to college before they have to do it on their own. And I think what's super important about this is, some of our students, recognize what they're ready for. They can recognize what they continue to need to work on. And maybe they realize college just isn't for them yet. And before you make that big investment, I think that's a really important thing to discover. We do, we cover the cost of that dual enrollment program. So that's part of our program at Landmark. So students again are leaving with college credits. We also have the van loan program that we work with them on. So that's where during the evenings, students either junior or senior year are actually going to Endicott and taking courses. Those can be semester based. They're not a full year, whereas the dual enrollment program is for the entire year. This year, we're also looking at an internship program. So right now we have about, I believe, 75 seniors that we're going to be setting up internships off campus for them for the end of their senior year. So that's really another great way that we're preparing our students as well. Okay, just want to talk a little bit about our residential life program. So as I mentioned before, about 115 students out of the 300 students are in our residential life program. We are looking to continue to build that since COVID. I think like many boarding schools, that journey, we really, it took some time to kind of reorganize during COVID and, just trying to build back from that. So again, we do have 115 boarders. We also have day students who participate in our weekend activities, which is really amazing as well. And within the residential life program, we're really working on, again, those time management skills, organization, self-advocacy, and healthy decision-making. And again, I think before students are going to college and having all that independence on their own, I think it's really nice for them to be able to experience that in the residential life programming and having adults who understand these students and their learning profiles and really to make sure that they're on the right path and making sure that they're learning as they go, right? They're not going to be perfect. They're not going to have those clean rooms all the time, maybe. They're going to have to work through what works best for me during study hall. Where's the best environment for me to be doing my homework? How do I ask for help? How do I work through things? How do I work with other students and partner with them on different projects? So again, our program is really built around those key areas. So one more quick video.
Landmark has completely changed me in academics and as a person. It's taught me to be more responsible. It's taught me to be more welcoming to others. It's taught me to not judge other people because their stories are also different. It's just a great experience. I'm a senior at Endicott College, and being from Northern Maine, I wouldn't have been able to attend Landmark, not residential. That was really a key component to my education so that I could be here and be there today.
In the Landmark residential program, I've learned how to be organized, how to live with others, and I've also learned how to live thousands of miles away from home.
Being so far from family, you definitely become more independent.
I really enjoyed the bond that I made with my house parents. I still talk to a lot of them now, and being able to have that connection with them, I thought was really important for me.
In the dorm, especially, you sort of build that relationship with everybody in your dorm.
I really enjoyed the community. I feel like I've gotten to know a lot of young adults and cultivated some really important relationships.
Had a room by myself my whole life. I wasn't sure how it was going to be like living with someone else. But we tell each other everything, we trust each other. We've been lucky.
There's multiple options for after-school activities such as sports and clubs, and also there's a time slot for free time study hall.
You always have friends with you, and it's kind of cool because if you want to go to the beach with your friends, you can just get off campus and there's just always stuff to do.
The academic support here is really good. There's always teachers on coverage in every subject.
All the teachers, they get to know you a bit better because there's less students here. So you get to build a connection with them.
You want to work for the teachers because they care about you.
The academics are great here at Landmark, but nothing beats the residential program. I feel very confident going into college. Landmark has really set me up for a bright future.
My parents have sacrificed a lot for me to be here, and looking back on it, it was the right choice.
Thank you for the opportunity. I feel so much more prepared for college and a lot more confidence in myself.
Landmark did a lot for me, not only residentially, but also academically. and it kind of put the wind in my sail to follow my dreams.
And as I mentioned, we're going to be having some administrators. I think they may have already joined us, but Rob Genitelli is our Director of Residential Life, Dean of Students, and he's been at the school, gosh, probably close to 30 years. He'll introduce himself, but he'll be available to answer any questions you have for the Residential Life program as well. What's nice about Landmark is that it's very much a school that works with students, again, with those language-based goals in mind, but we're very traditional in the sense that we have an amazing after-school program and as well as elective programs. So again, students aren't missing out on anything. Our visual arts program, we have drawing, sketching, painting, ceramics, photography. As you can see here, this is some of our students' work here, and it's just, again, who our students are. They're just very creative and hands-on, and they produce some amazing, amazing things. In addition to that, we have our performing arts program. And so this is an after-school option for students. And it's nice because we have students who might be experienced in theater or just want to try it for the first time. Maybe they don't want to be front and center on stage, but they like to do set building or the technical parts of putting on a performance. We also offer dance and a number of different performing arts opportunities. We both have, we have athletics as well. So we have a lot of athletes on campus in addition to those artists. We offer a varsity and JV program. And we have a number of different sports, as you can see, from cross country to volleyball to basketball, wrestling. We have sailing in the spring, lacrosse, baseball, softball. We have soccer. So we have a number of different programs. If students are doing an activity outside of school that we don't offer here at Landmark, we will do our best to work with you for students to be able to continue that. For a lot of our students, that's their strength, and that's really where they have built their confidence. And so we want to make sure that they're able to continue those things and have those outlets. And I thought this was amazing when I joined Landmark. It was so cool to see a full auto mechanics option for the students. We have the Technology and Steamworks program with a 3D printer. So all the updated technology that students will need to learn and use. And we also have a really cool woodworking and boat building option for students as well. So these are electives. Some of them are offered during the academic day, as you saw as I went through the curriculum. They'll have the option to do this either during the day, or some of these are offered after school as well. I believe about 95% of our students are participating in our after school program. It is a requirement for our boarding students. But again, many of our day students are part of our community after school and into the evenings as well as weekends. We also have community service that our students participate in. And as I mentioned, with our residential life programming, it's really great being so close to Boston and close to New Hampshire and Maine, and just allows us to do different activities with our students to get them off campus. We do a number of fun activities on campus, but I think it's equally as important for our students to experience everything that we offer around us. So again, they've done the traditional things that students like to do, like bowling, ice skating, movie mall, museums. We've done trips to different sporting events, the beach, trampoline parks. And we really want student input of really what they would like to do on their weekends. So it's really a nice way to kind of collaborate with those students. We also, during the winter, have a ski and snowboarding club on the weekends as well. As I mentioned in the beginning of our presentation, our summer program at Landmark is the same student profile as what we offer, or what we're looking for our academic program as well. And the only difference is for the high school, we're taking rising eighth graders, both for our day and boarding program. But for the academic year, again, boarding begins in grade 9. There's options for students to do a half day, participate with the afternoon activities, or live on campus in the residential program. And we typically have about 60 students in our summer program. And for students, it's really a great way to continue to do skill building and remediate and really work on those skills that they need. So students will have 4 classes each morning. There'll be an hour each, and that includes the tutorial, the one-on-one tutorial that I mentioned earlier in our presentation. So it's really customized, again, based on what students need. And so as we're going through your application process, we're really designing your summer program classes to be what fits for you. The program starts at 8:30 in the morning and goes until about 1 o'clock. Students are more than welcome to stay for lunch, and we also offer a study hall within the afternoon. So they do have a little bit of work to do, but we also want this to be a fun summer for the students too, and not feel like they're just here for the academics. So students are able to participate in our elective programs. So we offer everything from digital photography, group fitness, marine explorations, sea kayaking and paddleboarding, the amazing visual arts that we offer during the academic year. This is also a great way for students who are new to Landmark. It might be boarding and like nervous about that. And it's just a great way to dip their toes into what that's going to be like with a smaller amount of students, really learning how to navigate our campus, getting to know our faculty. And it's just a nice way to transition in the beginning of the year. Just going to show one quick video and then we're going to get into a Q&A as well.
I was really nervous to come so far away from home for a whole month because I'm not a person that likes to be away from home, but coming here, they make learning fun.
It's a relief to finally have somebody that understands you and gets what you've gone through.
The Landmark Summer Program is a 1-month experience. I really like how the classrooms are small. I feel like this is much more of a one-on-one experience.
I've improved my reading a lot. My math skills have gone up, and it's all thanks to the program.
Tutorial is this one-on-one time that everyone has in their day where you have this one teacher who can really get to know you and then you learn and notice what you really need to work on.
I love the teachers here. They're like a family. They get what you're going through.
Landmark Summer Program is right on the water, so I get to enjoy that every single day. I'm doing sea kayaking, which is so great.
One of the most fun activities that we did was photography and how to use Photoshop.
You can do marine biology, you can do art, you can do CrossFit. Yes, we're here to learn, but it feels more like a camp than school because I'm able to learn, but still have an amazing summer at the same time. The dorm life is a great experience. By the end of the summer, we didn't want to leave here. This was like another home we had built.
Everyone here is really nice. And I don't know, that's always important when you're trying to become part of a community.
Our learning differences have brought us closer because we can relate to each other and you can enjoy yourself and just make new friends.
The time has gone by so quickly, like I can't believe it's almost over. And I just thought about it, to be honest.
I'm definitely taking back study skills, organization, note taking, and I'm more prepared to go to school now than I was before.
When I go back, I'm going to be a lot more confident. I am smart. I just learn it a different way.
So that concludes the formal part of our evening tonight. Thank you for bearing with me with the technical aspects of the presentation. I did want to mention that we do have rolling admissions at the school. We do have a first round that we kind of implemented just to kind of get going on the applications, but we are still accepting applications. Our day spots do tend to fill up, and we do have a certain amount of day students we want on campus as well as boarding students. We do have an online application, and under our website, landmarkschool.org, under admissions, there's explicit instructions on how to apply, but I'm also happy to answer any specific questions on that. I'll put my email on the chat as well before we leave for the evening. So before our students join in about 20 minutes or so, we do have some of our key adults that work with your students or will be working with your students at the high school campus. And I just ask that they introduce themselves. And I think it'd be a great time if you have any questions that you have from an academic perspective, residential life perspective, social emotional, anything you're thinking of. Ariel and Rob would be happy to answer those questions for you. So Ariel and Rob, do you want to take a moment just to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your experience at Landmark?
Sure, I'll jump in. My name is Rob Genatelli. I'm the Dean of Students at the high school campus. I'm in my 28th year here in the high school campus as the Dean of Students. Standard joke in my household is when I came here, I promised my wife we'd be here 3, maybe 4 years tops. And now I'm halfway through my 28th year with really no designs to move on. My role on the campus is to create and ensure that systems and policies from our student and parent handbook are followed to create a campus, a community that students feel safe and feel seen, witnessed, kind of heard. And so my role is just kind of very hands-on interactive with the students. I design and manage the residential curriculum. And so I spend a lot of time working with the house parents and the residential team to ensure that systems are in play and that we're continuing to address and meet the needs of the students as they shift and change.
And I'm Ariel Martin Cohen. I'm the academic dean. This is my 20th year at the high school. And my job is sort of the complement to Rob. So I'm in charge of making sure that your children have the right schedule and that they're in classes that provide the appropriate amount of support and have an effective kind of balance of what we call pace, volume, and complexity to make sure they're improving their skills and kind of meeting or working towards their post-high school goals. And I also used to be a director of the summer program, so I'm happy to speak to that program as well and how it transitions into our fall academic year, if you're considering that for your children. Lisa, I think you're still muted.
Thank you. Yeah, something just popped up. Remind you of that now. Thank you. So now would be a great time to ask Ariel and Rob any questions you have on your mind. You can just feel free to raise your hand or you can put them in the chat as well if you don't feel comfortable speaking. So whatever works for you. So I think Andrea.
Andrea Lellis. Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm attending Landmark because I'm very interested in for my granddaughter. So
Great.
she would be a rising 8th grader in the summer for next summer.
Mhm.
So I wanted to know what the requirements are to be able to look at Landmark's summer program and how long the program is and when it starts.
Yep. All right. So yes, so the application is the same for the academic year as well as the summer program. So if you go onto the website, there's an online application piece that we do require. It's basic information. We're asking again for that neuropsych testing, IEP if you have that.
Yes, we
Yep, as
do.
well as future recommendations. So everything can be done online. And then we, for the summer program, Katie Chu is the director of our summer program for the admissions portion. So she would follow up with you on next steps and a screening process for that.
I have also another question because Annalise's current school had a speaker, and when it said she had taught at Landmark during the summer, I didn't realize Landmark was also a college. Are you affiliated with Landmark College?
No, we were at its like inception at the very beginning of the program, but we don't share any like current organizational connection. We obviously have the same name, and they also work with students who have learning disabilities, but there's not a direct connection.
Yeah.
The only other thing I'd add for the summer program is just to remind you, it's 20 academic days, so it takes place over the course of a month. We typically start the high school summer program after July 4th, so depending when that is, and then it runs 4 weeks from that date. So sometimes it ends late July and sometimes it ends early August. And the kids are, if they're residential, they spend 3 weekends on campus or have the opportunity to. And the day students, kids who are participating as day students, have tons of opportunity for afternoon, evening, and weekend engagement as well.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that's very similar to her current school's program.
Cool. That's great.
And the dates for the summer program is July 7th to August 1st, and residential students would move in on Sunday, July 6th.
Great.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Next question, does the Landmark Middle School accept students midway through the year for second semester? Unfortunately, our middle school is at capacity at this point with the 175 students. So unfortunately, we would not be able to take or consider a student for second semester. But again, we are currently taking applications and enrolling students for the 2025 school year. Okay. Are there other questions?
Sarah Riley, looks like you do. Go ahead.
Hi. Okay, I have a question about the neuropsych evals. My daughter's had one, she's had a couple. She's had a couple done through school, but then I was told there's more extensive neuropsych testing that can be done. So what exactly are you looking for? Like, what are the names of the tests? Like if I were to, because we're going to be getting her tested this year. She's in 8th grade right now. And it was recommended we get her fully tested, but I don't know what that means. Are there like certain tests we need to request?
Yeah, so typically we're looking for the WISC.
Okay.
WISC test would be helpful as part of that, really to look at those cognitive scores and profile, as well as the academic achievement tests as well.
Okay. All right. And then so I think she has the academic part done. So I think we may have to ask for the WISC part then. Okay, thanks.
And we're happy to take a look at that as well. If you have any questions, I put the admission email in the chat. It's just admission@landmarkschool.org. So we're always happy to take a look at that and give feedback if you're not sure, just to make sure you're on the right path.
Okay.
With that, yeah. Just looking at
Thank
this
you.
question. Okay. Before we get into that longer question, another question was, how often are students able to visit home? Rob, do you
I'll
wanna
jump
take
into that. They're your children. They're able to visit you as often as you want. Weekends are fine. Oftentimes we have students that might go home a midweek. My only asterisk to that is a reminder that if they're spending equal amounts of time both at home and living in residence, they never fully make the transition. You know, foot in both camps isn't always the most successful program on either side, but absolutely and very clearly they're your children and they visit you when and you want to or when they need to.
Okay. Thank you, Rob.
I can give like an initial sort of preliminary answer to that thoughtful question about executive functioning and how that impacts. I think that's really going to be a question best answered by the admissions team when they have a chance to really review your student's profile. But from an academic perspective, I think our program generally supports students who have executive function weaknesses or struggles with motivation because we build for what they can do and we build for their disability and or wherever they need skill development, exactly where they're at. And I think the experience for them of having a classroom that's clearly crafted around who they are and what they can do right now versus where they should be or what they struggle to do, emotionally can usually make a big difference. And that can help in terms of buy-in and motivation. The small class size helps tremendously. The one-on-one tutorial attention helps them develop relationships with adults that they can see as trustworthy and as kind and competent. And I think those programmatic elements generally help students, but a lot of our teaching principles, the way we structure our curriculum, the rhythms of our classroom, our expectations for skill development are all built with the knowledge of how it impacts students when executive function is an area of weakness and the overlap of attention deficit or ADHD, executive function, study skills, motivation, metacognition, all of that has on an existent language-based learning disability. So it's both like the spirit and the letter of our classrooms is built to support students who do struggle in those areas. But again, the admissions team is going to give you more direct insight into what would be a really good fit for our program and what it might look like for your child.
Yeah, so for you, I'm happy to have you email me directly and we can have a separate conversation and really dig further into your student's profile and their background. Couple questions for you, Rob. How are
Yep,
students chosen to roommate in high school? And then is there a 5-day boarding option where students return home on weekends that is more cost effective?
There isn't a 5-day boarding program currently available or a 7-day boarding program. We just have never created that model. And that would be a real question that would go back to the admissions office and the business office to make some determinations on that. In the existence of the school, that's not been what we do. In terms of how students are chosen to be roommates, that's all on me. So every entering student that comes into the school, I review their full record. I'm skilled and knowledgeable in the reading and extrapolation of knowledge out of a neuropsych eval. My job is to look through that whole thing, create a strong student profile, and then match them with a similar student. It's about a 40, 60 hour endeavor in my part. And I love it when students talk about, excuse me, how lucky they feel about their roommate and that they got a great move and how lucky they feel. And I'm thinking, yeah, we'll go with luck. That was a long, that was hours upon hours of work to create that. But that's how it's done. So nothing is pumped into a computer. It's all done individually by me. Again, reading and evaluating their entire records, likes, interests, hobbies, programming, where they're coming from, family configuration, where their learning challenges present themselves, processing speed, working memory. All of those variables and factors are taken into the process of when I'm constructing a profile to create the housing database and who lives with whom, what building they live in, what floor. All of those nuanced configurations are all very thoughtful and done with intention.
Rob, do you want to talk a little bit more about that, like the structure, the dorms, and do 9th and 10th graders live together? Do 11th and 12th? Like, how does that all?
Students are housed according to their age and their grade level. Mostly, there's no set building that has a specific age in it, but often floors are configured in certain ways. So really, I'm looking at the makeup of the entire residence to see who is in there and what grouping would be where. Like in, one of the dorms it's a 3-floor. The first floor is mostly 9th graders, but the second and third floor are a combination of 10th, 11th, and 12th graders, depending upon who's in the building. The opportunity to participate in having a single versus a double. We only have singles and doubles. We don't have anything larger than that. So oftentimes in that building, individuals who are 11th or 12th graders might want single rooms, so they still vie to stay in that building. So it all is variable, and it really just depends on who's enrolled. Returning students get to choose where they live, with whom they live. They get to stay together if they want to. New students coming in, I create that structure. Sherry, to your point, do roommates change every year? That's up to them. If they want to change around, unless it's a really bad combination, there are times I look at a couple of students and say, not a chance on this planet you all are living together. It's just not a good fit, not a good makeup. I'll put you near each other, but you can't live in the same room together. And they lean in and acknowledge that they knew that answer was coming. They just wanted to give it a chance. So again, it's done with intention and with purpose to make sure that the systems, to the best of my ability, are managed and working in a way that meets the individual student need and creates a good community inside the house.
Great, thank you. Any other questions for? I think we have our students starting to join us as well. Amanda, are enough students here to get started on that? I know.
I was gonna say, I only have one so far, so maybe like 5 or 10 more minutes and we'll get some more.
Okay. So I have about 5, as you heard from Amanda, 5 or 10 more minutes for other questions. Is there anything?
I'll also just offer, I am here as a current parent of a residential student. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to ask or answer anything too.
Do you want to give a little bit more background to like where you're from and how long they've been on campus and just why you chose that? And
my daughter Anna is a sophomore. She has been a residential student since her freshman year. We are from Raleigh, North Carolina. I grew up in Massachusetts and was aware of Landmark. And so when she got her dyslexia diagnosis in 7th grade, we started looking at Landmark and made the decision that that was the right place for her going into her freshman year of high school. She is involved in varsity soccer, varsity basketball, and other clubs on campus, and has adjusted incredibly well and has had opportunities to do things that she never would have been able to do if we had kept her home with us.
Great, thank you. There's another question about is the athletic program based on skill level? So yes, it is. We have like I mentioned before, we have the varsity JV level. Yeah, Rob, if you want to.
We have varsity level, JV level, JV1, sometimes JV2, depending upon skill-based interest, number of students. We compete with other local independent and public schools in our community. We're in separate leagues for the men's program versus the women's program. It can be robust and competitive depending upon the sport and the season. The only teams that are traditionally would be a cut program right now. Sailing has a capacity, golf has a capacity. And then in those moments, we just turn around and create a club around those areas for any student that doesn't make quote unquote the team. We'll do an after school activity around those areas for them.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Right. How many visual art offerings are there? Do you have a chapter of the National Art Honor Society? Any additional information you have about visual arts would be wonderful.
Great, I can answer that. Our visual arts department is really incredible. It's run by two kind of co-department heads. One came out of Bowdoin from a liberal arts perspective with a major in fine arts, and the other graduated from RISD. So they come from two different perspectives of their own training and experience. And we run drawing, painting, ceramics, printmaking, darkroom photography, digital art and design. And then there is a portfolio class, which is designed for seniors. We've run other courses as well, but that's the current slate that we're running right now. I actually don't know specifically if we have a chapter of the National Art Honor Society, but I know that we submit student artwork into a number of different competitions and kind of exhibitions through the year. And our students have received really awesome recognition from Scholastic Art Awards and from recognition ceremonies specific to Boston. We've had students have artwork published or photographed in like magazines or journals, and we send a good number of students to schools to pursue post-high school studies in visual arts. It's a really, really cool department. They have really amazing offerings, and that portfolio program really prepares kids both to create a physical portfolio or digital one, but also to experience the demands of an art program at the college level, which is different than a liberal arts program with a focus on seminar and reading and writing. So that department does a really phenomenal job preparing kids for either like a career or just a passion in arts as they move on from high school. And then I can answer the next one. We do not currently have a swim program. We did years ago. It became increasingly challenging for us to find access to a pool. But we do have students that participate on swim teams through their home district. So that's definitely something we can support. And Beverly has a wonderful Y that has a very nice pool. And we've definitely supported students who are residents in accessing the Y as becoming a member and being able to use their pool facility when it works for their schedule. So it's not something that we have as an interscholastic team, but we know that's something that's an area of interest or passion for our kids.
Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And we're on trimesters now. I forgot to mention that earlier. So that's for us this year. With the electives, Ariel, is that something that they get to choose each trimester or some?
No, so the during the day elective they do for the full year. Students can absolutely make changes if there's space available and it works for the rest of their schedule. But our hope is that they find an elective they like and they complete that through the course of our school year. Where they get choice is in those after school activities. So they could be taking a ceramics class during the day and then doing auto during the fall trimester. Maybe they participate on the wrestling team in the winter. And then in the spring, they want to do performing arts and work on the spring production. So that's where they really get the opportunity to have some variety in their day. And then I see the question about foreign language. So we don't offer the traditional foreign languages like Spanish or French or German. We do offer an American Sign Language class that many colleges will accept as evidence of a second language or a foreign language. That's not a part of our program because we're focusing on remediating their knowledge of and use of English. And I think the majority of our students, because of their diagnosed language-based learning disabilities, will receive waivers from most colleges who might require foreign language either as an entrance requirement or as a course requirement when students are enrolled. But that's certainly a conversation you can have either through admissions or with our amazing guidance department that makes sure kids aren't prevented from being considered at some post-high school options if foreign language is really an essential one.
Great.
And we don't have we don't have a significant number of kids who row or participate in crew. That would be one we'd have to think about. I don't know that we have as much of an infrastructure for that particular sport. It's an amazing one. And I know in Boston, there's a ton of teams and participation. That's just one that we haven't had as many students engaged in. The sailing team's pretty amazing. I know those are very different sports, but if your child likes to be on the water, that's another way to access it.
Right. And our director of the athletic program would be happy to speak to any families about that as well. So if you have additional questions, I can certainly put you in touch with him. And then there's another question. Are there opportunities for international travel?
There are, and Rob, you can jump into that. That sort of had a bunch of different lives over the course of the school year, or the course of the school's history. Certainly, COVID made foreign travel very challenging. We had a trip planned to go to London and Paris. I think they were supposed to leave that first weekend in March, and that trip obviously was canceled. But we have a really thriving community service program run by our chaplain, who's often arranged for trips or supported trips. Last year, we had a group of students and 2 faculty members go to Costa Rica. Is that right, Rob? For a service trip. That was an incredible opportunity for them. And we've often sent a group of kids to Jamaica. We have some pretty cool connections with community service organizations there. So those service-oriented trips are definitely something that's been a part of the school for a long time. The international travel for the sake of exposure and experiencing different places. Right now, we don't have consistent offerings for that, but that's definitely been something that we've done and I think are really invested in trying to figure out a way to get back into that rhythm. But those aren't things that we have like routinely. The seniors go on a certain trip. The seniors do go down to Disney World in Florida. And Rob's taken that trip many, many times. So we do try and travel with our kids, but the international travel particularly is not something that's happening at this minute.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
Amanda, are students here, most of them?
Yeah, so all of our students are here. See a few new faces. So we've got a bunch of students here. Some of them are day students, some of them are residents here on campus. And I would love if they could all introduce themselves, and then they're really kind of here to answer any questions you have, again, from the students' perspective. We can continue with all of the questions, but just know that there are some kids here and they're happy to answer any questions that you guys have. But first, I will have them introduce themselves. JJ, do you want to go first for me?
Hi, my name is JJ. Um, I dorm here and I'm from Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Great. Can you also tell us what grade you're in?
Oh yeah, and I'm a junior.
Perfect, thank you. Megan?
Hi, I'm a day student. I'm from Beverly, and I'm a senior.
Lola, you're next in my boxes.
Hi, my name is Lola. I'm a senior. I've spent all 4 years at Landmark. I am a residential student. I'm from Morocco. And yeah.
Thanks, Lola. And I think Brian, you're the last one.
My name's Brian. I'm a day student. I'm a sophomore, and I'm from Reading, Massachusetts.
Thanks so much. Any student questions or other questions? Okay, I've got one for all of you. You guys can kind of take some turns, but can you all share with us your favorite thing about being at Landmark and maybe your least favorite thing about being at Landmark? Besides, of course, having to go to school and do all your homework. But what are some things that we like about school and Landmark? What are some things that we don't really like about Landmark? Whoever's got an answer, jump in.
I can go first. I think my favorite thing about Landmark is the opportunities that we're given. I think through community service, we have a lot of job opportunities and good ways to like be with the community in Beverly. My least favorite. I'd say kind of similar to that. Um, because I'm a boarder, I'm like, and someone who is very like, I'd say a part of the community is that like, I don't get much of a chance to like, someone who like, I don't know how to phrase this, but like day students are able to also have a community outside of Landmark, which can be a little bit difficult since transportation um, can be tricky when you're just trying to like go to a different town that isn't through a landmark event or activity. Um, so I think I'm very much part of the landmark community and Beverly, but outside of that, I don't really have much of a connection as a boarder.
I think JJ, you were also gonna maybe jump in.
Oh yeah. Probably my favorite thing at Landmark is probably the people. My least favorite, it's probably being so far away from home.
And
'Cause,
JJ, when you talk about the people being your favorite, what are some of the things that the people here do that you really like or that you're fond of compared to maybe your other school?
the weekend trips are kind of nice to do on the weekend. It always like there's always a fun time doing some trips. There's always something happening in the dorm, so that's instead of being bored at home, you're doing something. So
Okay, one more question, JJ. What's your favorite thing that they do in your dorm or on the weekend?
on the weekend, it really depends like who's on and what they chose to do as a weekend trip for that specific weekend. I mean, it could be a whole lot of things. It could be like nice food trips. It could be something fun like going uh or really going on a walk with people down to the beach, something like that.
Awesome, thanks. I won't pressure you anymore. Megan or Brian, do you guys have thoughts? Your favorite things and your least favorite things?
My favorite thing about Landmark was probably the change of like the teachers, how they like teach you and stuff, because they really like help me learn and like grow and figure out how I can learn best. And definitely the people are great because they're all struggling with dyslexia and everything. So we're all kind of like the same, and it's great to have friends here and that all like go through the same things that you did. And then my least favorite thing, it's not that bad, but I don't really like the Saturday schools. But it's not that bad.
I actually didn't mention Saturday schools, and people are probably wondering what that is. Ariel, do you want to explain that really
Sure.
quick?
So Saturday schools, we have 8 of them over the course of the year, so it's not every Saturday. It runs 8 to 12. It's an opportunity for us to do our transition curriculum, our health and wellness curriculum, and it's really focused on experiential opportunities. So there's lots of field trips, museum field trips, community service trips. There's opportunities to work within the local communities. Kids get to sign up for activities most of the time. The transition and health and wellness activities are scheduled by grade, and those are required. But most of the time, kids are signing up for activities. They get to choose 2. They're each 2 hours long, 8 to 10 and 10 to 12. They're dress down days. They're done at 12. And then we always do a community night the night before. So it could be a dance. In January, or no, sorry, December, we did flag football under the lights. So we've rented the giant like football field lights, fire pits around the edge of the field, hot chocolate, and the kids are playing football for as long as they could stand it because it was pretty cold. But that's a nice event right before a Saturday school. And what it gets us is an opportunity to do that work that would pull kids out of class so we don't have to miss class time to cover really important topics or content. But they also count as school days. So that's 8 days of the school year that we accomplish on Saturday, which lets us end our calendar kind of in line with where we'd like, 8 days shorter than we would if we didn't have Saturday school. And then students, it'd be great to have you speak about this, but I just want to tell you from the like school administrator perspective what the cell phone policy is, and then kids can talk about their experience of it. We have a cell phone task force in place right now that involves both faculty and students, looking at what is the research saying about cell phone use and access for high school students. What are the policies that work and the ones that don't? But right now, our policy is it's pretty low tech. When kids walk into class, there is a physical box, a Tupperware container, or like a shoe box, and everyone's expected to put their phones within that box for the duration of the class time, so all 50 minutes. But students can have their phones in between classes. We ask that they not use them in the cafeteria, but they can certainly make calls or send messages during lunch if they're outside of the cafeteria. And then if students need them for a certain app or technology, lots of our teachers use Kahoot, and sometimes kids like to do their phone for that. Or if there's certain tools that they're working on using, then they obviously can have access. All of our students have laptops, so having a Chromebook is definitely an expectation, and we can work with families for whom that's challenging. So there is plenty of access to technology. Not having their phone doesn't mean that they can't use technology during the school day. We're just trying to limit the social media encroachment and the constant kind of communication demand of getting in the way of our classes.
Great, thank you. Before we get into Sherry's question, just quick, as a day student, what is the earliest that a student can arrive to campus and be dropped off?
So breakfast is served starting at 7. So students could come to campus as early as 7. Residential students are usually starting to eat breakfast around 7:15, 7:30. But 7 o'clock would be the earliest that there would be staff and in like opening buildings and kind of aware of and informed about your child's presence. And then classes start at 7:50.
Great, thank you. And they can stay for dinner as well.
They can absolutely stay for dinner. I think Rob would say at 6:15, we'd ask them to check in with us, but that doesn't mean they have to leave campus by 6:15. 7:30 is when study hall starts for residents. So at that point, we would like to know what the day student's plan is for the evening, but we can certainly accommodate if you're stuck in traffic or if there's terrible weather, we can figure out places for students to spend the night on campus. And certainly if it's easy for you to come pick up your kid at 6:30 or 7, that gives you a break from traffic. They can have first dinner with us on campus and then come home with you and have second dinner at home.
Then another question for the students. Can you tell us about your experience on the first day of school as a boarder? And how did you feel then versus how you felt at the end of your first year?
Go ahead, Lola.
I would say the first few days are very like a little bit hectic. It's very active. The first day, like you move in, you're moving in everything else, and you're also getting to know your dorm mates. And then the other 2 days, you're getting to know the day students and people in your grade, and we're doing activities. We go to a place last year and this year, I think we went, where did we go? We usually go to like some climbing place, or some outside place where you get to know the people in your grade and just making friends and also your advisors. And there's not much time to kind of feel homesick. I know that me and my freshman roommate didn't feel that like overwhelmed, like home being away from home wise. But we definitely miss our parents. But the first few days we don't get like feel sick about it.
And how did you feel at the end of your first year, Lola? Did you feel like there are any major changes personally you kind of went through, like felt at the end of the first year?
Yeah. At the end of freshman year, I think I felt pretty good about where I was. Academically, I bonded with my advisor and was able to get into the classes at what level I was comfortable with, but also still academically challenged. And I had a pretty solid friend group, which I was comfortable with for that year and sophomore year.
All right, I'm gonna jump back to Megan. Megan, can you share your least favorite and favorite thing about school or a landmark? And then I'm gonna also tap you, Megan, because she's in my class and I can do that as her teacher. But can you tell us about technology in the classroom and especially as a senior, what that might look like for you?
Yeah, so first I'll start with the first question. So my favorite thing about Landmark is the community around me. Like I've got to know my classmates and my teachers really well through like just how small the class sizes are. And I know me, like I can't hide in like Miss Ryan's class. I can't hide. So and that's good for me. My least favorite thing is probably those mandatory Saturday schools where we do go over health and like do stuff with guidance. And then also the technology piece for senior. So I'm getting used to like using technology as a tool, not as much as a bad thing right now. So my tutorial, we're working on like using speech to text to make my papers longer and go faster so I don't have to spend hours on that paper that could take me 30 minutes if I just speak it. Like listening to an audiobook of a really hard reading so I can comprehend it a lot faster than trying to read it over and over again, trying to get those tools ready for when I go off to college next year. But yeah.
Actually, Christy, I know, thank you for taking your time to be here as a parent representative. I often meet students who are super excited to live on campus, but it's the parents who are not so happy to let go so early, understandably, and they didn't expect that till maybe they went to college. Can you kind of speak to that and kind of how that adjustment went and how you might keep in touch?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it was probably one of the hardest decisions that we made to send our 14-year-old 800 miles away to a school that, you know, we've toured and, you know, we were on campus twice before we dropped her off there. So, you know, it was not an easy decision and not one that we took lightly. I think a couple things that I'd just like to, you know, share is as difficult as it is to make that decision and you know, not be close to your child for their high school years, the immense amount of growth that we have seen our daughter go through is stunning to me. We went from being concerned, you know, sending her to college and not knowing if she was going to get out of bed in the morning and make it to class and take her meds and do her laundry. And within the first 6 months of being at Landmark, she's navigating flying from Boston Logan International Airport. She's navigating that on her own and getting on a plane and coming home. She's doing her own laundry. She is completely responsible for all of her homework and she's doing great in classes. So I can't say enough about the safety net that Landmark has for teaching the kids how to become self-sufficient without just removing the training wheels altogether. The residential program that Mr. G has created with the level system, you know, I kind of wish that I had had that when my kids were 4. But you know, it absolutely works. And the level of responsibility that our daughter has taken on, you know, as she's going to be 16 on Monday, it's just astounding. And I have absolutely no doubt in my mind now that she will be successful when she transitions from Landmark into college and whatever is beyond for her. So that's my big plug. And then I did see the quick question about, as a parent, how do you connect with other parents? That is something that I'm really passionate about. And I know I've talked to other people in the administration about how we can get more parental involvement from the parents that aren't able to be on campus more than a couple times a year. I do know that the parent association that is at Landmark does some really great programming, and they get parents together on the North Shore and the South Shore. And but it's something that I've struggled with a little bit in terms of feeling more connected, especially in the residential program and community with other parents. But I know that the school is working on that, and they're aware of it, and it's something that there are several of us who are really passionate about making sure that that happens.
Great,
That's really
thank
great to hear, Christy. Thank you.
Sorry, I was just about to answer the question, the cutoff for applying for the summer program. So we again, we do rolling admissions, and we're looking to fill 60 spots this year. We are looking for the ratio to be more residential than day. So if you are interested in that, I would say I would begin the application as soon as possible, as we've already started enrolling students for next summer. But if you have any questions about that, I'll put my email or address in here, and you can feel free to reach out to me.
I should say one more thing about the meeting parents and the residential program. I participated last year in the parent ambassador program. So when you do decide to become a residential student, you're paired with an existing parent that is a residential parent already, to answer any questions and kind of just get a feel for everything and how it looks and feels to drop your kid off on that first day. And someone to answer questions about how do I drop my kids' meds off, and who do I talk to about this? And so I think it's a really great outlet. If you do sign up and become a residential parent, you will get paired with someone who's more than happy to answer all of those questions too.
Great, thank you. Are there any other questions that we've missed? I think we've got them all. I'm just being mindful of the time. All right. So I put both the admission email in the chat as well as my email. You can feel free to reach out to any of us. And if you want to speak to Ariel more or Rob more, or talk to our director of athletics or arts, whomever you'd like to get in touch with, if you want to reach out to one of us in the admissions office, we're happy to connect you as well. Thank you for taking the time this evening to be a part of this program and learn more about Landmark and our wonderful program, both academically and beyond the classroom. Thank you to our students for taking time out of their evenings as well. As Christy, as a parent rep, I really appreciate that. So again, thank you for joining, and hope to hear from you all soon.